Hello and welcome to the Hustings for the Community Officer for 2020-21, the best officer role. Not that I'm biased or anything. So we've asked the candidates your questions and they've provided us with a recorded video or a written statement. If they haven't provided any of these answers, then unfortunately they've been unable to participate, but you can still see their manifesto on the SU website. So let's ask the first question. The first question is, as community officer, you represent lots of different types of students, from those on campus to those living in the community. How will you be equitable to ensure that the different parts of the student population are properly represented?
So for this, I want to work with societies to build a response that best suits everyone. I don't want to give buzzwords in this video. I want the student societies to tell me what the best thing for them is. I don't want to tell people what the best is for the community. Being from Nottingham myself, I have considered the pros and cons of living off campus. And one of the cons was that you wouldn't feel integrated in the student community. So it's definitely something that I would like to improve on and make everyone part of the community, whether you live on campus or off campus.
Termly surveys to gather thoughts and opinions of different students with different questions for those that are in halls compared to those living out in the community, because I know the issues affecting those groups are slightly different. I will also work with the part-time officers to ensure that views of their liberation networks are taken into account. If you look at my manifesto, there are points that affect different groups of students more strongly, so things like hall committees and issues relating to the hopper bus will have a bigger impact on those living on campuses, whereas issues relating to student safety and the quality of accommodation are more likely to have an impact on those living out in the community. Above all, though, I will value open and honest communication so that any student can come to me with issues and I will take them seriously, because that, at the end of the day, is the best way to represent students.
I've been fortunate enough to spend a lot of time on 3 of our 4 campuses, and I've put connection at the heart of my manifesto. I don't think it's right that students have said to me they feel second class or unequal when it comes to how they're treated, purely on the basis of who they are, where they come from, or where they live. I want SU officers who are both physically and virtually connected to students. We're a wonderful place with thousands of students on different parts of their education, but we're all in this journey together. So, if it means taking the hopper bus to Sutton Bonington or to Derby, I'll do it. If it means taking the short walk to Jubilee campus, I'll do it. And if it means meeting with every single president of every single society to understand what they need, I'll do it. Because I want to be an SU officer who represents the whole community, no matter who you are.
A key part of my campaign is making Nottingham more equitable, and through various conversations with SU and university staff, I've noticed a lot of common issues between campuses. One of the main issues is housing, and this is clearly reflected in my manifesto. On campus, I will lobby for a re-evaluation of halls prices. Off campus, I'm looking to expand the university as a guarantor scheme to disadvantaged students, and a really big issue is housing in Kegworth for Sutton Bonington, and I'm actually the first candidate to mention this in my manifesto, so I will lobby the university and the council to ensure that there's adequate provision of housing for all students. I will also lobby the university to ensure that the process of applying for extenuating circumstances for religious reasons is easier and more transparent, to ensure that no one is discriminated against within the extenuating circumstances process.
The second question is, will you start involving Beeston in your work as much as Lenton and the campus? Loads of students live in Beeston and we can often feel left out and excluded from lots of campaigns, including the anti-burglary campaign, and the fact a hike in tram prices was ignored, whilst the same issues in bus passes was a huge issue.
And I say absolutely to this. Living in Beeston now, I've seen the tram fare increase. So I'll be working with NET to ensure that student tram fare prices do not continue to rise, as well as extending the anti-burglary campaign to involve all of Beeston so that students do not feel left out.
I will absolutely start involving Beeston in all of my work. I know that not only do many students live there, but an awful lot of students either work or volunteer there even if they don't live in Beeston. One of my key manifesto pledges is around the issue of student safety, so things like preventing burglaries and making sure students know how to do that, making sure students know how to get home from nights out safely, and I will be including Beeston and Dunkirk in that, as well as Lenton and the main university campuses, so that all students have the issues they need. I will also ensure that when public transport fare increases are levied, particularly on the student fares obviously, that I challenge all of the local public transport operators on that, be that Trent Barton, NET who run the tram, or NCT buses, because I know that the increases on student fares can often be proportionally a lot larger than the increases levied on the adult fares, and it's not fair.
I agree. Lenton too often dominates Beeston, just how University Park dominates our other campuses. So I have a member in my campaign team specifically dedicated to communicate the needs of Beeston to me. And the issue of burglaries is a serious one. In my commitment to tackle crime, I will speak to the police constable, to Nottingham City Council, to commissioners, to charities, to make sure that the issues of students are taken forward. I don't want any student to not feel safe in their home. And on the second point about travel fees, I agree. In my promise for no student left behind, I want to tackle the travel fee fiasco. We don't have a student discount. I want a real student discount. What Jacob has done to freeze the student travel fees, I think are brilliant. But now we need to reverse them, reverse the increases, and provide a real student discount.
Every area that a student of UON chooses to live is a key part of the community officer's remit, and this is clearly reflected in my manifesto. This is why I have pledged to re-establish the Residence Committee so that all students can feel that their voices are being heard. Students who live in Beeston, as well as other areas, will have a dedicated committee where they can raise their own concerns, for example, transport, housing and crime. I'm not going to speak on behalf of the students of Beeston, but instead give them their own voice to empower them to enact positive change within the community.
The third question is, will you all work on getting the university to act as a guarantor for all students, not just international or low income students? Not all students have parents willing to sign up as a guarantor on contracts that they are joint and equal, especially when they do not know the other tenants.
This is, of course, the end goal. It's in my manifesto to ensure that the university acts as a guarantor for everyone, but the priority will, of course, be low-income students.
In short, yes. I think that it's important that the university can do that if necessary. I know that not all students do have somebody who's willing to act as a guarantor, and it can limit the accommodation choices, potentially preventing students from being able to get the houses that they want to do, which isn't really fair. And while I know the university doesn't have an unlimited amount of money to help people out if somebody defaults, it shouldn't come down to students having to choose between eating or paying rent if somebody else in their house has defaulted. In addition, I know that many students who particularly study in the Faculty of Medicine and Health Sciences may have courses where the term dates don't line up with those that are used for leases in halls, and therefore they can't stay in halls really after their first year. In those situations, it's vital that students are able to get things like houses in the local area so that they can stay in the city all year round if need be, enabling them to continue their study. And of course, if they can't do that, it could potentially mean that they have to drop out of university before the end of their degree.
I understand this question because I've been there and not had a guarantor to turn to. So I want to make sure that every student can get the support they need. I want students who aren't international and who aren't from a low-income background to get the same guarantor that others do. But these negotiations will take time. So whilst I'm negotiating, I will speak with Nottingham's many estate agents, with the university housing support team, to make sure that the wealth of knowledge and advice they have is promoted to students, so no one does not have support. And when these negotiations are successful, and they will be, I will deliver for students a guaranteed housing support, a guarantor for every student, and guarantees for our community. because no student should be left behind.
One of my policies that I'm most proud of is my pledge to expand the university as a guarantor scheme to disadvantaged students, as this is something that has personally affected me. I don't want to make any promises that I can't keep, and while it would be incredible to be able to offer this to all students, given the current financial situation, I don't think it's sensible to make such a grand promise. I've worked in the SU for 2 years and I know how difficult it would be to push through such an unrealistic project. As a result, our focus should be on guaranteeing this policy for those that need it most.
And the final question is, a lot of the manifesto points for most candidates are quite intangible, with broad claims of ending the mental health crisis and single-handedly combating homelessness. What are your concrete plans to achieve your promises?
So I'll break this down into 2 questions. First is the mental health crisis. I'll be working with the elected education officer to ensure that there's an end to deadline bunching. So just this week I had 4 deadlines in for the space of 5 days. I'll be ensuring a minimum space between exams, so you'll not have back-to-back exams. You won't have 2 exams on the same day, as well as working with societies to ensure at least one committee member is mental health first aid trained. And the second point of combating homelessness, this is one of my manifesto points. I want to work with Trent SU and local charities to help ease the homeless crisis in Nottingham. I don't think any candidate will argue that they can single-handedly combat homelessness, but if the SU can help provide resources, help get students into volunteering with the homeless, then it will benefit the community greatly. Thanks for listening, and vote Adam Huckaby for community.
I really didn't make big promises in my manifesto, such as ending the mental health crisis, because I know that single-handedly I probably won't be able to achieve that in a year. But I will work to support services within the union and the SU, and to ensure that we're doing all we can to do that if I'm elected. In terms of my manifesto, I will work to speak to the group that monitors the transport and the hopper bus services to ensure that they get the information they need about how the overcrowding is affecting students. I'll be working with departments within the SU, such as those that look after JCRs, in terms of the work on recognising hall committees, and I'll also ensure that I work with the marketing department to put together something that can go out providing information on anti-burglary and getting home from nights out safely. Promotion of the Rate Your Landlord tool will help to ensure that all students have good quality accommodation, and working with my counterparts at Trent and the university's marketing department will enable me to launch a social media campaign to promote all the brilliant things we do for Nottingham as an area.
For over 5 years, I have been a mental health champion and ambassador for many mental health charities up and down the country. I've sat at negotiating tables like this with councils, officers, health service providers to make sure that we're making a real difference to mental health services, representing young people in the process. I think the commodification of mental health is distasteful and simply to win votes. That is not my campaign. My campaign speaks from experience personally, speaks from family and friends, speaks from the years of experience negotiating. I want to plant trees for students who have committed suicide, extend welfare support 24/7, 365. And I've delivered this change already in Nottingham, in the Crip Centre. So with your vote, I can take what I've already done to all of University of Nottingham and make a real difference to the mental health crisis that students are experiencing.
Problems aren't solved with sweeping statements, but with targeted and implementable policies. Something that this campaign has made very clear to me is that there are a lot of promises being made with little evidence of how they will be achieved. My manifesto has been fully researched and is centred around having tangible plans to make Nottingham fairer, safer and healthier. For example, I've already had conversations with members of the SG about the potential for brand affiliations when providing free sanitary products in the SG and in other designated buildings. It's actions like these that deliver tangible change for student lives, rather than just offering broad sentiments.
And that's it. That's the hustings for the community officer candidates. Thank you to everybody that participated. And if you'd like to find out any more from the candidates, then all of their manifestos are on the SU website, and you can also vote there until 1 p.m. on Monday. Please look out for the results night video that is going to take place at about 7:30 on Monday, where the new officers will be announced. Thanks very much for watching.